Hi everybody, my name is Elizabeth and I'm a librarian here at the LSC-Tomball Community Library. Welcome back to Baking is Baking, which is the series where we only sometimes ever bake anything, but where we are always talking about food, brought to you by the Tomball Innovation Lab. So it is officially fall now, which can only mean one thing. No, I'm not talking about Halloween, I'm not talking about the upcoming holiday shopping season, and I'm not even talking about the ability to wear a sweater in Texas without dying of heat stroke. No, I am talking about pumpkin spice. Now, I know what you're thinking. Pumpkin spice has gotten a bit of a bad rap over the last few years because of its incredible market saturation, but I am a staunch believer. And although I draw the line at putting pumpkin spice into hummus or pasta sauce, it is truly the ideal way to enjoy the season, in my opinion. But if you're anything like me, your pumpkin spice habit can run up a bit of a tab until it's time to switch over to holiday coffee flavors. So I am here to show you how you can make a pumpkin spice latte that is just as good as what you get at your favorite coffee place for a fraction of the price, and you can do it without leaving your home. So if that sounds like something you would be interested in, keep watching, and I will show you exactly how to make your very own DIY PSL. Also, a quick disclaimer, if you would like to follow along at home after you finish the video, or you would just like something to refer to, the pumpkin pie spice recipe that I'm using is from The Minimalist Baker, and the pumpkin spice latte recipe that I'm using is from Inspired Taste. So, with that in mind, let's get started. At most coffee chains, the pumpkin spice flavor is added to coffee using a flavored syrup. We're going to approach this a little differently though and actually create a pumpkin spice blend. This is beneficial for a couple of reasons, with the first being that you won't be tied to a syrup, so you can control how sweet your drink is, and the second being that pumpkin spice is good for more than just lattes. You can also use this blend in basically any baked good that you can think of, or add it to more fall and winter beverages like mulled wine or apple cider. I liked the pumpkin spice blend from The Minimalist Baker, and to make it you will need 1.5 tablespoons of ground cinnamon, 2 teaspoons of ground ginger, 1/4 teaspoon of ground nutmeg, 1/8 teaspoon of ground clove, 1/8 teaspoon of ground cardamom, and 1/8 teaspoon of ground black pepper. You may be scared about putting pepper into your spice mix, but this will really help to add that warmth to your pumpkin spice latte that makes it so cozy. Mix your spices together and add it to a sealed container. Because we want our latte to be piping hot when we serve it, the next thing we're going to do is make our topping. This is just going to be whipped cream, but homemade whipped cream is both easy to make and way better than the stuff that comes in the spray can that you buy at the store. To make your own whipped cream, you will need an electric mixer of some kind, unless you have super strong robot arms, because it would take you forever to do this by hand. A stand mixer or a hand mixer will work just fine. You will also need a cup of either heavy cream or heavy whipping cream, a couple tablespoons of sugar, and 1/2 teaspoon of vanilla extract for flavor. To make your whipped cream, combine all of your ingredients into a bowl and then beat on medium-high for 3 to 4 minutes using the whisk attachment of your blender. A lot of homemade whipped cream recipes will say to look for the stiff peak kind of measurement that you would see for a meringue recipe, but I found that the best measure of when your whipped cream is actually done is when it starts to look like the whipped cream that you're used to seeing. So I would just eyeball it, and of course there's nothing wrong with dipping your finger in and giving it a taste. Why not? Once your whipped cream is done, go ahead and set it aside and we will use it to garnish our finished beverage. Now that we've got our pumpkin spice blend and our whipped cream, we need to actually make our latte. The recipe I am using is based off of the recipe for the best homemade pumpkin spice latte from Inspired Taste. For this, we will need 2 cups of milk, Any kind of milk will do, including non-dairy milk like soy or almond. I'm just going to use 1% because that's what I have on hand. You will also need 2 tablespoons of pumpkin puree. This needs to be unsweetened and unflavored, so be on the lookout when you're at the grocery store so that you don't buy pumpkin pie filling on accident, because this will be way too sweet if you use that. You will also need some sugar. This will depend on how sweet you'd like your latte to be. I don't like my coffee very sweet, and there's a ton of other sweet things already going into this recipe, so I'm just going to use a teaspoon, but use as much as you'd like. I would also recommend using brown sugar instead of granulated white sugar to really make the most of the warm, cozy flavor of the drink. Next, you'll need a tablespoon of vanilla extract, and lastly, you will need coffee. Because of all the different things going into the finished drink, you're going to want strong coffee or even espresso if you have an espresso machine handy. This drink is also a great way to use up coffee that might not taste great on its own, so I'm going to use some beans that are not necessarily my favorite. The first thing we need to do is make our coffee. How much you make will determine how strong the coffee flavor in your drink is. I love coffee, so I'm going to make about 2/3 of a full cup. And I'm going to do this in my pour over because that is my preferred coffee brewing method. But any method where you're making fairly concentrated coffee, like a French press, mocha pot, percolator, or single serve coffee maker, will also work just fine. If you've never used a pour over coffee maker before, check out my Baking is Making video on pour over coffee to learn more about what it is and why it's my favorite. And I'm also going to show you a condensed version of the process here. Once you've made your coffee, go ahead and set that to the side. Next, we're going to make our pumpkin milk. Place a small saucepan over medium heat and add your milk, pumpkin puree, and sugar. We want to heat the milk mixture up, but we don't want it to boil, so be on the lookout for steam. And once it starts to warm, go ahead and take it back off the heat. Once you've removed the milk mixture from the heat, add in the rest of your ingredients, and including half a teaspoon of your pumpkin pie spice, and mix everything together. From here, you are ready to serve your DIY pumpkin spice latte. For the classic coffee shop experience, we're going to dollop some of our whipped cream on top and dust with some more of our pumpkin spice blend. If you're feeling extra fancy, you could also steam some milk and try your hand at latte art, or add a cinnamon stick for some extra holiday appeal. If this is getting you into the autumnal mood and you're looking for more pumpkin-themed recipes, then I would recommend getting a jump on Halloween with Betty Crocker's Halloween Cookbook. If you're like me and the Halloween candy obsession starts to wear on you after a little while, this cookbook is great because it also includes savory snacks that you can have if you need a salty palate cleanser after you've finished your PSL. You can check out Betty Crocker's Halloween Cookbook on ebook from the Harris County Public Library. Thank you for watching this episode of Baking is Making. Be sure to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and Twitter so that you never miss a future episode of Baking is Making or any of our other great online programs. And if you make this recipe at home, please tell me how it went, or if you have any other fall beverage favorites that I should know about, I would love to hear about them. Fall is my absolute favorite season, so I'm always looking for more ways to get into the mood. And as always, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye!